So thanks for having us today. Jennifer asked me, would I do another talk this year? And I said, actually, I don't want to talk, but I would like to get some cool people on the stage, talking about interesting stuff that they're doing. So I'm really pleased to introduce my panel today. Come on, guys. So I've got Benjamina here, who is the co-founder of HigherSteaks. They are developing technologies to produce meat from cell culture, Benjamina. Their mission is to lessen the impact meat has on the environment, human health, and animal welfare. And I'm sure that it's going to be really interesting hearing how can you grow meat in a laboratory. Marloes is my other guest. She's the CEO of Kerten Hospitality, which is a private equity firm who are creating and managing really forward-thinking hospitality concepts for travelers, residents, and people at work. Their mission is to enhance communities and provide people with inspiring places to live, work, and play. Life hub spaces, I think, would be a good way to describe them. And then, last but not least, Reinder is a spatial designer and co-founder of Overtreders, the design agency. Their work in hospitality is circular, and I'm sure you're going to... Wow. It's going to elaborate on that later. You may have seen their zero waste barn, which is what caught my eye last year at Lowlands Festival in the Netherlands. Reinder and his business partner Hester are particularly interested in sustainability and believe there is huge scope to improve on this in the hospitality sector. So thanks for still being here, and let's get started. I guess to kick off, I'm curious to hear from each of you individually. What do you think has changed in hospitality in terms of ingredients, technology, and design sustainability? So maybe we'll kick off with Marloes, because one thing that's been playing on my mind the last 2 days is when it comes to tech, are hotels playing catch-up with restaurants? And and delivery companies, as Chris said. I mean, there's loads of them around as well. So yeah, let's start with you. Thank you.
I already have to laugh just by the question, but I always say that hotels are the slowest from everybody. Whatever everybody else do, we do 15 years before. When I moved to doing this project, we had one brand, a small boutique hotel brand. And we now do mixed use, and we were absolutely not going to do F&B. We're now doing F&B. But you're saying what has changed. And, with regard to technology, I think we're so far behind that we almost need to jump over a decade or the next 10, 20 years to get to actually where the rest of the world is already. So, for example, when you look at hotels, we're still talking about opening the door with your telephone. Well, I don't think anybody cares about this anymore. Definitely when you see the presentation before, where it's about vending machines, we set up a tech company 9 months ago, just because we couldn't find what we wanted. But the vending machines, for example, we're saying, okay, with our technology, you can choose what you want from whichever concept we have. I can't find anything for that yet. So we're just going slow, build up, and then jump to the next phase. I think that's the biggest change I think you can see right now, is that it's not anymore hospitality people talking about hospitality. It's tech people talking about hospitality. It's designers or setting the tone and the trend, and consumers wanting something that they want at that point with whichever data we have.
Okay, thank you. Benjamina, what do you see in terms of food innovation, and I guess also the way people eat and what they're interested in and what they find important?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a change. You talk about a hospitality industry, but I think every single industry is really moving towards a more sustainable solution. You look at pharma, for example, that used to be, we're saving people's lives, so we don't care what we're doing to the environment, because we're really, it's a matter of life and death. That now we're starting to think, well, okay, well, we're saving people's lives, but let's make it in a better way. And I think every single sector is really moving towards that direction. And because food is, one of the largest carbon footprint that we have, we're looking at how can we change that, and all the solutions, and it won't be one solution, there are many solutions to getting there, but it's an urgent problem, and we're looking at all the different ways of doing that. I mean, I went to a hospitality conference, I think about a year ago, and there was barely any vegetarian food. And we look at the last 2 days that we've had, and, there's been so many options. If you come here as vegan, you have a ton of options. And I think you're seeing that change more and more. And what we're doing is, is one of those solutions, is providing alternatives where, people that like meat, people that enjoy the taste of meat, have an option to still eat meat without the carbon footprint, without the, the animal welfare side and the health risks.
Okay.
Yeah, I see things changing, but slowly. 10 years ago, we mainly make sustainable projects. I'm a designer, so you see some things here on the screen. And 10 years ago, I got a lot of. I did my first sustainable project. I made a building out of eBay materials, and now 10 years later, I get all the time the question: can you make a circular building for me? From commissioners or circular interior, but still nobody knows what it is or how you have to do it. So this is still, especially in restaurants and also for festivals, etc. Things are changing very fast. So an interior is there only for a couple of years, sometimes only for a year. So my projects are sometimes there only for 1 week. And it's more how you deal with materials. Nobody knows for this kind of thing. So it's like a new, new direction you go into. How do you deal with materials? How do you connect materials if they are only connected for 1 week, or for 1 year, or for 10 years? And how can you take it apart? And who is the owner of these materials after this lifetime? So we made. I can show you maybe here on the screen. We made. I think it's the next image. We made a pavilion out of 100% borrowed material. So we borrowed everything, and it was there for only 8 days.
And how did that project come about? Because that might be interesting to share with the audience. How did that come about?
Yeah, so my commissioner was the Dutch Design Week, and they asked me, can you make a building for a pavilion for 8 days or 9 days? And can you host 600 people in this pavilion, 200 sitting, 200 seats, and and we said we can do it, but there are so many nice buildings here, so why don't you rent one? As they said, but we want to have a statement, and we want it on the square. We said, okay, but if we make a building for only 9 days, then we make something without a footprint. So we went to all kind of material suppliers, and we said, can we borrow your wood? You get it back after 1 week. And so that's the way we did. We borrowed the whole building. I think if you can switch to the next image, it's there.
Can somebody click through to the next image for us?
And it's also all materials are borrowed, and and that means one more. And if you borrow it, you can't saw in it, you can't drill in it, you can't. You have to connect it in a different way. And
the thing is, we're still talking about materials.
Yeah.
No, so it's interesting. I had a site inspection with a well-established family, and their son, 16 years old, was there with them, and we're talking about the interior design and stuff. And he said, "Why are you still talking about interior design? Why are you still doing all of this?" It's like, because people want this environment. So it's, well, you just stick on your Oculus glasses and you change whatever you want whenever you want it. It's like it's almost.
How far away do we think that is? Did you get that, everybody? How far will we be away from actually, I'm putting these glasses on so I can see Benjamina a certain way, or she can even tell me how she wants me to see her. I think that's not going to be far away.
it's just like, a stupid joke, ha, ha, ha. And he was so serious. Like, there was nothing.
Did people get
laughing.
it?
But you still have the touch, right? You still have, like, if you see something, like, you want to touch things. So I think there's the sensory aspect. It will take a while before. If you think about food, if you think about, like, the most I say, like, advanced thing, you think, like, I'll swallow a pill and then, like, you do something to my brain and I think I ate a steak and great, right? That's lovely, but in reality, like,
no,
people
but,
want, in
if
a
you
sense.
say this, so would you, because everybody's investing in tech, would you invest your money in a farm so there's only few people that could buy a chicken in 10 years? Because, this guy's talking about 3D food printing. Gross now, but it's very, because we're talking about sustainable, then we're talking about vegan, but apparently if we're all become vegan, we have a problem in the world too. So it's like,
that's why I think when we look at our solutions, we are part of the solutions, for example. So alternative meats is like a whole sector, right? You'll have probably meat, at least for a while. And you'll still have, plant-based that will grow, and you might have insects, and you'll have, cell-based meat as one of them. So it's an umbrella in the way we see it.
I'm wondering if it would be useful for you to maybe explain a little bit about the technology, because I'm not really sure how many of you know about cell-based meat. Hands up.
A few. Okay. Maybe I'll explain a little bit and why really we're doing this. So depending on how you work, but the principle is really around taking the principles for regenerative medicine and applying them to food. And the way it works is you'll take a cell from the animal.
Which will be blood, I guess.
Exactly. So you can take it through blood, through a skin patch, so something that's non-invasive. And from there, the first step would be to grow the cells, so multiply them, and then to differentiate them, so to make muscle, fat, to really create the texture and that feeling of meat.
And I guess you can also then improve it.
Exactly.
Less fat or more.
Less fats, better fats, omega-3s. Yeah. You can obviously, incorporate vitamins, change it. You could have, on the long term, you can think about mixing lamb fat with chicken muscle. So, there's you can change things, right? You can have anything, but in the beginning we're looking at more the conventional meats and trying to mimic what is there already. There's lots of advantages. I think the ones that are really the givens are foodborne diseases. So we hear a lot, salmonella, mad cow disease, swine, African swine fever. So all these diseases, we can screen for them and we can avoid them, moving on to the consumer. Or, losing investments, not only of the farmers, but also of the restaurants that might not be able to sell the meat. Also, in terms of antibiotics, so we can do it without antibiotics, reducing the CO2 emissions, water usage, and of course, because we take one blood sample, and that's all we really need. That means we never have to, go back to the animal.
How far are you going to take this? Where are you going with this?
Sorry?
Like, how far is this going to go? Where are you going with this?
In what sense?
Like, how big do you want this to be?
Obviously, our goal is for this to be, the norm. Like, for you to go to any supermarkets, to most restaurants, and for it to be there. So for us, we see it as huge. But at the same time, we are conscious that it will take time. It's not a software that you can scale like this. It takes time. You have, facilities that you have to, manufacturing. And I think what you're saying as well is actually interesting, because a lot of people tell us, but, pharma is, you're using kind of pharma and biotech concepts, and it's not the most environmentally friendly, so how are you going to do? But at the same time, looking at, the stuff that you're doing, well, we can use novel materials. And, if we come up, this is our plant, And for now, this is, our CO2 emissions. We can always improve it. We can always go and say, well, the way you did with a building, can we change something about that building? Can we change something about that facility to make it better? And we have that chance of kind of restarting things and of making them better.
And I guess you'll be learning as you go along, because you're doing something completely new and uncharted. So there's a lot to learn in terms of supply chain and what customers really want.
And there's a lot of other industries that will come to play. So right now it's quite niche. Even, for example, the people that right now we hire would be, very scientific. But as the industry grows, there will be a lot of other things that will come around, and there will be a lot of other industries that will benefit from this emerging industry.
Who would be happily eating a lab-grown pork chop? I can't really see how many hands are going up. A few of you.
A few. Good 50%.
That's not a bad start.
Oh, it's good. On average. So, people have done consumer tests. It ranges from 10 to 70%, depending on the phrasing of the question.
And the nutritional label, which don't says carbohydrates and protein anymore, but says something different, I guess.
So you mean the nutrition?
Yeah, like
it will be the same. It's muscle, it's fat, it's meat. So it wouldn't be like plant-based where it's different. It would be exactly like the same nutrition.
Amazing.
Great. Reinder, in terms of thinking about food production, what are your thoughts about increasing urbanization as more and more people living in cities, projecting ourselves forward 10, 15, 20 years? What kind of solutions do we need to be thinking about in terms of how we're going to feed everybody, waste, and so on? What do you think will need to happen or change?
Yeah, about waste. I think we don't need to talk about waste anymore.
Right.
Sorry?
We don't need to talk about waste anymore.
Because in the ideal world, there is no waste. So, for example, the other building here on the screen, all the facades are made of the plastic we recycled in the city, and we just made a facade out of it. So we borrowed actually the plastic, the leftover plastic, just from food or from whatever material, and we made this facade shingles, 10,000 of them, and now they are in production. So in the ideal world, there is no waste, and also not for food. In the ideal world, there's no food waste. So hopefully we get there, and I think that's also, if you go to a circular economy, you have to make new systems, and so maybe for you, that's also what we wanted to prove here. That for you, you think it's waste, but at the end you get back a facade tile, and you can make something out of it. So, yeah.
Okay. I see we have about 6 minutes left. I'm just wondering whether we should open it up to the floor and take some questions.